Good evening. It is Tuesday, October 1st, 2024, and coming to you from Lonely Tree Media headquarters in Tacoma, Washington. This is the Best Lamm Sports Show. I think that was the best find, that music.
I would tend to agree.
It was free, right? So I had, you know how long I had to search for like theme music, free theme music. That's what I've been looking for forever. I mean, and we could use like a real song because we're not getting paid to do this. We could technically use whatever, but
Right, we're not making money off it,
we're not
so
making money on it. So we could use whatever, and then if they come after us and say, well, we're not doing this for profit, we're just doing it because. But this song was pretty good. It hit pretty hard, and I like it. So anyway, hang on. Here's one. I mean, we don't get to hear the whole thing.
sometimes you don't get to hear it at all.
Sometimes you don't get. See, wait. Here's the jazzy part.
Oh yeah, the jazzy part. I remember that part. Yep, that sounds like the jazzy part.
With me, I'm your host, David Lamb. With me, as always, is my son Parker. Say hello, Parker.
Hello, Parker.
The studio audience is always on,
Yeah, they're good people.
unless they're not. So welcome. We got some things. We got football. I mean, let's be honest. It's football season, and college football. We got NFL football. If we have time, we'll talk about Major League Baseball and what's happening, the WNBA playoffs, the MLB playoffs, the upcoming Formula One race at the Circuit of the Americas. We do have a trivia question, so that's good, right? We're going to start with that. So, how are you today?
I am doing okay. I got my flu and COVID shot today, so I'm a little
Oh,
tired.
nice. Yeah, that does worry you out. Every time I get the flu shot, it's not sick. What's the term I'm looking for? I feel run down.
Yes,
And
that is
then
exactly right.
about 24 hours it lasts, maybe less. But yeah, I feel icky. But
I
then it
got I
goes
got
away.
it about the same time last year, and I want to say it was just the evening and then into the night, and slept kind of restless. And then when I woke up the next morning, I felt fine.
Yeah,
So hopefully it's the same thing
it's
this
weird.
time.
I will tell you this.
But no one's gonna get me sick this year, so
That's not true.
it's not true. I will
It's
still
not.
get sick.
That's not true.
Somebody's still gonna screw this. I work from home, and somebody's still gonna screw this up for me.
And I'm not. If that's the case, we know the answer to who that is. But I don't think. I don't. I don't. I don't think it's that. I mean, it's not like it doesn't protect you. It does. I think it makes things less severe. Is all it does. You know what I mean? If you're
Yeah,
gonna get sick, you're gonna catch a flu or a cold. It's not like gonna keep you from doing that. But when you get the symptoms, it's like, man, this is not too bad. So.
well, it's like Cassie once described it as like buying like the clear coat protection for a car.
Hmm.
It's like it's not really like if it hails or if a tree branch falls,
Right.
it's still going to damage the car, but it'll help stop a lot of things, a lot of
Right.
little things.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it kind of insulates you a little bit and gets your immune system working hard to so
Yeah.
that way if something does infect you and it isn't too severe, it can fight it off pretty easily.
A big enough
But I will
rock.
still get sick.
A big enough rock causes a lot of problems. It doesn't matter what you've got on your car.
And I was
Uh,
walking by a house in our neighborhood the other day, and I had never seen they had like a blue Subaru that was out front, and the divots that were in this thing from the hail
wow.
were huge, like
You guys get some
full on
weather.
golf ball size all over the hood. It was
You
crazy.
you guys get some weather though. I mean, you guys get a lot of. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm here in Tacoma, and I'm going to tell you the most severe weather I've had in the last. Well, we moved here in November, so the most severe weather I've had in the last what's about 10 months, 11 months is it snowed one day.
Did you guys
I
get a little
mean,
ice at one point?
no, it never freezing rained. We had we
That's
had
usually the thing that hits Portland that
yeah,
gives them grief.
we just had snow, and it wasn't just one day. I guess there was a couple of different days, but it wasn't like inches of
Wasn't
snow. It
much.
was like
Yeah.
a quarter inch. It was just enough to coat the car or whatever, and it's okay. And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean we've had some storms in terms of like windy, rainy, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's the most severe weather I guess we probably got. But
Yeah.
you
This.
guys get, I mean,
Yeah.
tornado, hail, that kind of crap, right? High heat
Yeah.
and low temperatures in the winter, and
Yeah,
yeah,
and then we also get locusts and moths and all the
We have
other
mosquitoes.
plagues. You have mosquitoes.
We have
We do
mosquitoes.
not have mosquitoes here.
That's
Like
so
they're pretty
cool.
much non-existent. But no, your trade-off is grasshoppers that are 2 inches long
I do not like
that just fall out of a tree and land on you.
grasshoppers. Freak me out. I mean, they're
Yeah,
locusts,
and
grasshoppers,
locusts, which
whatever.
are essentially like communal grasshoppers. I know we
They
looked this up on the show once,
yeah, they
but
freak me out. Those guys freak
yeah,
me out.
yeah, and they're all over the place out here this time. They're starting to go away right now, but their heyday was about a month ago. Was when they were
Heyday.
that's when they were at their peak.
They're
And
heyday.
you can't, and they try and come in. The worst part is I'll walk downstairs and there'll be one sitting on the window to outside, like on the screen on the sliding door,
Yeah.
and I'm like, well, I guess I'm just not going outside today. I'm not opening
I, I
that.
I will say this. I still remember we lived in Savannah. You remember that?
Yep.
Lived in Savannah, Georgia for 2.5 years, and your mother one day was going from the kitchen, if you remember, to the garage. There was the door that went out to the garage. That's where the
Yes.
laundry was, and she
Yes, I
was
do
going out
remember
to do
that.
laundry, and a gecko fell on her. Like jump he was above the doorway and he just fell down on her when she opened the door. Oh my gosh, the scream was ridiculous. And I'm like, he's a gecko. He can't hurt you. It's not like a big deal. But you try telling her that when it jumps on you and, and that's the same thing with the locust, right? You're like, I don't like it.
I'll tell you
But
what, I'll take the grasshoppers though and the locusts over cicadas
cicadas or cockroaches,
or
which is
over
another thing.
cockroaches any
Any
day of the week.
day, any
I
day.
will say I miss Portland because Portland did not have
Any of that.
it didn't have anything.
Any of that.
It has bees. It
Yeah.
doesn't really have wasps,
Because there's
but it
roses
has
everywhere.
because there's tons of
Yeah.
flowers and lots of
Right.
trees, so it has bees.
Sure.
But other than and you're I guess it has ants and some other
Yeah,
like little
ants.
beetles, but it
Yeah.
does not have anything severe.
No
Nothing that would
cicadas.
generally scare
No
you. The
cockroaches.
spiders aren't very big.
Yeah.
Like there's just nothing.
In Oregon and Washington you get black widows and you get brown recluses
Yeah, but
in the
they
wooded areas, but
want to be
they're
away from
rare.
you.
Yeah,
They're
they don't
so
want to. Yeah.
hidden away.
Yeah.
There's probably one in my house right now, and I wouldn't know the
No.
entire time I lived here.
But yeah, you don't get a lot of the junk that you get in the South, which or
No.
where you are, or you got those moths too that you get. Ugh.
The Miller moth situation was my least favorite unexpected thing about Denver, which is the month and a half Miller moth migration where you open your garage door to go out into the garage and there's just a couple hundred,
Yeah,
500 or
that's
so Miller
ridiculous.
moths just on
I
the roof, and if you make any noise or you move
They
anything too much,
fly.
they all start going crazy.
And moths don't fly. This is my biggest. Okay, this is my biggest complaint about insects. I don't know if the moth
They're
is an
so
insect.
dumb.
They don't fly straight. I
Yeah, they're
mean,
so dumb.
I can handle birds. I can handle,
You
but
can
like,
generally predict them.
yeah, but like bees don't fly straight. They don't. They do this weird thing, and you don't know where they're going, and that frustrates the crap out of me because yeah, flies too. I guess flies too, but Miller moths are probably the same way. Just I can't stand the fact that I can't control where they're going to go, and that makes it hard to swat them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Grasshoppers also don't. They can't really walk very well, so they only really hop, and they can only hop in whatever direction they're facing.
right.
So like when I go for a run, I'll be running through my neighborhood, and there's a couple of spots where the grass is a little taller around the sidewalk, so the grasshoppers will end up on the sidewalk, and if you're running at them, they're gonna jump, but if they're facing, they're just gonna jump right into you and fall to the ground. So you just have you're kind of like dodging them as I'm running because but that's at least they're predictable. And like moths fly all around. Crickets just jumping, or not crickets. We also have crickets here. Now I'm thinking about
Yeah,
it.
crickets. Well,
Huh.
that's everywhere. Cat. We have crickets out here.
I've seen them more here than I've seen them anywhere
Huh.
else. But to your
Well,
point about the weather earlier, we've not had it's been a pretty mild year. Last year we got those I sent you videos weekly
yeah.
of massive
Oh
storms.
yeah.
We've gotten like 2 big storms this year.
You show
Apparently
me
last year was kind of a freak incident.
your hail pictures and freaking lightning,
Yeah.
thunderstorm pictures, and we've had like 2 thunderstorms since we've been here, and one of them was okay, and the other one's like
Yeah.
meh. This, and it coming from the south where we were, like Savannah,
Get some
Georgia.
good ones.
Oh yeah, and Tennessee, Knoxville, those places had thunderstorms. Here it's like it's not really a thunderstorm
The
because this
kind where people tell you to take shelter.
this doesn't count. Yeah,
Yeah.
well, if you get a severe thunderstorm that has a hey, you may get a tornado with it. That's
Yeah.
then you're in a place where
Or a flash flood if you live in
flash
the right
flood. Yeah,
neighborhood.
right. Anyway,
Yeah.
yeah. All right. Well, we got stuff to talk about. We're gonna talk about a lot of things, but we're gonna start with the Oregon Ducks because the number 8 Oregon Ducks beat UCLA in their first Big Ten conference game. So they're undefeated in Big Ten conference, and so we should stop right now. But um,
That's
never,
it. National champions.
never
4-0.
lost a Big Ten conference game. UCLA had already lost to Indiana, so they're now 0-2, and they're 1-3. And this win, 34-13, is not going to impress anybody other than Oregon looks efficient offensively. They don't look explosive, but they look efficient. Um, they're having a hard time with big plays. But I will take efficient any day. If you're scoring on every drive, even if it's only 6 or 7 yards of play, I'm okay with that. This is not the Oregon we're used to that scores, that has 20-yard plays. But I,
I don't know. That being said, I'm looking at Tez Johnson there with a 52-yard
well,
touchdown, and
he did.
Trayshawn Holden had a 38-yard one.
those were
So
quote
they
unquote
happen.
big plays. But I mean, like the Ducks of old, you have like a 70-yard run. You know what I mean? The longest
Yeah.
run in this game was 16 yards by Jordan James. I mean, he did rush 20 times, 103 yards, 5 yards to carry. Oregon as a team, 4.3. That's good. Those are good numbers, right? And
Get you a first down and 3.
431 yards of offense or whatever it is. That's good. Um,
Yeah.
and other than the Dylan Gabriel pick six that he threw, um,
Which I don't know if you really want. Did you like that play? That receiver fell down,
yeah. Oh yeah.
and it's like dang it.
I
Like,
know,
what are you
right?
gonna do, really?
Right.
Like, you're supposed to be there, dude.
Right. Still
But
though,
it is what it is.
278, 3 touchdowns, interception. He's throwing at 82%, by the way. His
Yeah.
his for the season, 82% completion percentage, which is amazing.
He's making Bo Nix look wildly inaccurate,
Right. Right.
and
Um,
Bo Nix is the most accurate quarterback in college football history.
UCLA has one of those Garbers at quarterback. There's been a Garbers at quarterback for like ever, right? A Cal and at UCLA, and I don't know. There's been one of those Garbers, and um,
Actually,
118.
isn't this the one from Cal?
So they've had two. They're Ethan and I can't remember his brother's name. Oh shoot, it's gonna come to me eventually. Anyway, but they've had two Garbers playing quarterback, and yes, this Ethan did transfer from Cal, but they both played. I want to say they both played at Cal, but I'm not 100% certain. You'll have to look. Ethan, Nathan. Is there a Nathan Garbers?
Uh, I'm looking.
Chase Garbers. That's
Chase
it.
Garbers is the Cal quarterback.
Yeah.
Ethan's the UCLA one. Okay,
Right.
that makes more
So there you
sense.
go. Yeah. Anyway, Oregon wins. It's pedestrian. We'll call it that. Second half was 6-3, right? So Oregon scored 28 points in the first half, and that's what you kind of expect Oregon to come blowing out the doors. They kind of let off the pedal a little bit, which I don't like. I'm not a big fan of, but their defense still looks really really good.
Yeah, and we didn't put we didn't give up an offensive touchdown.
No offensive touchdowns, and
That's awesome.
that's amazing, right? Against anybody. So I like the win. They're 4-0. They just had to win, right? And now it's Michigan State next week. We'll talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah.
Michigan State at home. The next two games are at home, so that's
Mm.
a homestand. We're on board. This week, I think I need to go here. This week in college football. If you didn't watch Friday night's Virginia Tech Miami game, that was a great football game until the end.
Yeah, people really should have watched that because that was way better than a lot of other games this weekend.
That came down to a review of a catch, which probably wasn't a catch, but was ruled a catch, and a touchdown for Virginia Tech to win the game, and then they overturned it. And if you ruled it a catch, there's no way to overturn it. From what I saw, there was
Yeah.
no way.
I saw it that exact same way.
I will still say that Cam Ward is probably the best quarterback in the country. I mean, what he's doing in Miami. Think about if he had Oregon as his team, or if he had Alabama. What he's doing in Miami is amazing. 343 yards, 4 touchdowns in this game. He can run. He can throw. He looks really, really dangerous as a quarterback. But
I like the way he looks. There's something about his game because I watched him at Washington State. I
Yeah.
remember going, he seems good, but something seems off, and I don't know
Missing.
what it
Yeah.
is. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean, he definitely airs the ball out, which I mean, it's so funny that that's a Mark Helfrich or not Mark Helfrich, a Mario Cristobal
Yeah.
offense,
Right.
and they're airing the ball out. They didn't do that here.
Virginia Tech looked most of the game like they were the better team. I'll be honest. I did not think that Miami was going to win that game. And I know that Miami's the number 7 team in the country, and I still think that there's a conspiracy going on. I think that the ACC is conspiring to say, hey, this is our best shot at getting a team in the playoff. You better let them win. I'm not saying that's what happened, but I'm just saying maybe that's out there. Anyway, um, I mean, worse, crazier things have happened, right? Texas and Arch Manning win against Mississippi State. It was not a great, like a decisive thing. I mean, they won 35-13. They won about the same as Oregon, right?
Right.
But it was late. They won late, which is weird, right? Because if you win, if you're up on UCLA 28-10 at halftime, okay, you put the game kind of away already. You're in control. Texas is 14-6 at the half. They were not necessarily in control of this game until later in the game.
Right.
And it's a convincing win, and I get it. And Arch Manning, here's my question to you. Here's question number one for the college football questions. Red River rivalry is next week.
Uh-huh.
Texas and Oklahoma. They are talking about Quinn Ewers coming back and being the starter at the Texas Oklahoma game.
Yeah.
Would you do that? I
Yes.
mean, would you? You think he's
Yeah.
better than Arch Manning?
Well, I don't know about that, but their offense has looked more explosive with him at quarterback.
All right, but I mean, you're winning with the backup quarterback fairly easily.
It's true. You played UTEP and you played a bottom feeder Mississippi State team,
and you
and you
and
have won them both convincingly.
and you shouldn't.
Well, UTEP was a little closer, wasn't it?
I don't remember. You want to look?
Like they ended up walking away from that game, but I think it was a little closer than like that's a team that Oregon typically beats by 50.
Yeah. Well.
But I think I mean I say typically we didn't exactly handle Utah, but
I don't know. I'm torn. You shouldn't lose a position because of an injury. I get it, and I'm all about that. But I also when I don't I'm also about not upsetting the apple cart. When you're winning, you're winning, and this is the guy that's leading you. So,
but the
20,
apple cart was already upset when you got
but 20
when you went down.
your quarterback just went 26 of 31 for 325 and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, you look good.
In an SEC game, which everybody says it doesn't matter who you're playing, right? The SEC is a big deal. So I'm just saying, there's that.
The thing is, you have Arch next year,
You
and
do.
you still have him on the roster. If Quinn starts to like not look
If,
right,
if you put Quinn Ewers in and he gets hurt again, is
yeah,
that is that a mistake then? Did you make a mistake or is it just
it
it's
depends.
the
It
it's
depends on the
rolling the
injury.
dice? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, like if you put him in and he grabs a concussion, well, I don't know
That's
why was he
different.
out again.
Oh shit, I don't remember.
I think it was like an ankle or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you put him in and he grabs a different injury, nah, I mean it kind of is what it is. Unless you can look at the tape and go, well, he got injured because he was doing something different because of the other injury. But no, I don't think. But I do think if he gets hurt again, especially with the same injury, or
Right.
if you notice his mobility is gone, you should be quick to pull him out because you have a solid backup.
So also number 2 Georgia went to Alabama and Alabama wins a 41-34 game, which was an amazing game to watch.
Great game.
Great game to watch. Here, I have two thoughts on this, and I'm split. Alabama in the first half, 30-7 over Georgia, and they looked dominant. I mean,
Dominant.
defense, offense, everything looked dominant. And then Georgia came back and even took the lead, and I'm like, Alabama, this could be the worst. You know what I mean? This could be like the biggest meltdown in SEC history. And
Yeah.
Alabama found a way to win. But this was a lot closer than it should have been. Alabama should have put their foot on the neck of Georgia, right? It was
Yes.
33-15 at the end of 3.
Yeah,
And
when you
then
consider that lead, there's no
yeah,
excuse for allowing
yeah.
them a 19 fourth quarter
Car-
points to creep back into it.
Carson Beck with 439 yards and 3 touchdowns, right? And then Jalen Milrow with 16 carries for 117 yards and 2 touchdowns. I mean, that's. And can we talk about Mr. Williams in Alabama? Ryan Williams is. He made some
He
plays.
He's good. He's
He's
fast.
really good.
He
Yeah,
reminds me. He reminds me a ton of the way that Travis Hunter plays wide receiver.
it's true.
Super fast, super lanky, super long. He's all about the deep ball. I mean, he had 6 receptions
All right,
for 177 yards,
20,
including a
yeah,
75-yarder in there.
20 something
So
yards a catch.
yeah, like he only does deep passes.
Yeah, it's
That's
true.
that's that's really it. You use everyone else for the underneath stuff, or you let your quarterback get it with his legs. So he's kind of a one-trick pony. Everyone's like harping on the fact that he's 17. I could give a shit less.
Yeah,
Like there are 15-year-olds in this country that could probably work this dude
right.
now. So it doesn't him being 17 does not matter to me.
Agreed. Um, Ohio State wins on the road, 38-7 at Michigan State. Relatively easy. I mean, yeah, it was 3-0 at the end of the first quarter, and it would look kind of. But Jeremiah Smith also another good wide receiver. Um, Ohio State manages to have talent all the time. Will Howard, I'm not sold on that he's the best quarterback. I mean, he's not the best quarterback in college football. Let's just
Yeah.
put that out there.
I don't even think he's top 3 or 4.
Yeah, he's got a lot of help around him,
Hell,
and
Texas has 2 guys ahead of him.
two guys ahead of him, right? Arch Manning would be a starter on any other college football team.
Jackson Dart at Old Miss is an incredible quarterback as
He
well. Like
is.
there are a
Yeah.
lot of guys who are better than Will Howard. Well, this is the crux of Ohio State. You're blessed with a ton of talent
Yeah.
around you, and a lot of times it floats mediocre quarterbacks to good places.
And that happens in a lot of places. I mean, Alabama quarterbacks. What's the success rate in the NFL?
That's
Tua,
true.
and then who?
Well, I mean, if you want to call Tua's success rate, Tua's got a winning record
He
against sub
was.
500 against sub 500 teams.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I mean, Alabama doesn't have a whole lot of success, but their quarterbacks don't equate to NFL quarterbacks. It's funny who does. I mean, who does equate? It's not your normal. It's not the guys you think they are. It's not the places that are, in college. You go, oh, this guy's great, and he's a Heisman Trophy candidate and whatever. And then he gets to the NFL, and it's like, meh, you know. Um, Caleb
It
Williams,
just reminds you that it's well held. Oh, Caleb Williams just had a big day, which I'm sure we'll
he
talk
did,
about.
but they're two
On
and
the thing.
two, and he has numbers for the season. What, 3 touchdowns, 4 interceptions? Meh. I mean,
Yeah, he's a rookie. He's a young guy.
he is. I get it. I get it. I mean, I
Like
understand.
there's a lot of time for that to go.
It's true. We'll talk
There,
about the NFL a little bit.
yeah.
Anyway, Ohio State wins. They're 4-0. Obviously, that's a big deal for Oregon. They need to keep winning. They play Iowa next week, so we'll talk about that in a minute. Upset of the day: Kentucky at Ole Miss. Kentucky wins 20-17. Kentucky almost beat Georgia, right? That was a
They almost beat
13-12 game.
Georgia, yeah, and
Yeah.
then they went out here and beat Old Miss. Who,
Right.
I mean, Old Miss is always
A little
overrated.
Yeah, I agree.
Every single year they're like, oh, their offense is going to be dynamic and it's going to be out of this world because Lane Kiffin's an offensive genius, and then
Genius.
they come out and they lose 3 games, and you're like, all right,
Yeah.
well, they're good, but
Yeah.
eh.
In the most and in the most ho hum game possible, Penn State beats Illinois 21-7. And
Yeah,
Penn
that
State
was really boring to watch.
Penn State is good. But Penn State is now 12-8 in whiteout games. Not that that's a thing. Just FYI, if you watched the game day before, they talked about that. They said they're 11-8 in whiteout games, and I'm like, which you'd think would be better, right? We have this whiteout energy.
Yeah, my first reaction, we said 12-8. I went, that's it?
That's it, right? They were 11-8 coming into this game, and when oh crap, what's his name? McAfee said that on game day. That's when Nick Saban chimed in and said, well, we went up there and played in a whiteout game. That's one of the 8.
That's what
And I'm like, yeah. So it's not like that big a deal, but they make this whiteout thing like a big deal. It's like a huge deal. And they won 21-7. They won. I mean, it was fairly easy. It just because Illinois really was inept. Let's be honest, offensively. But
what I don't understand is why their field isn't white.
they
Like for the game.
they
Like,
should do
might as
that,
well,
right? Just
right?
paint it. Yeah, you might as well.
The whole crowd. Oh, I wonder if there'd be any sort of NCAA pushback with you
Probably.
wearing white uniforms. On a
Yeah,
white
you
field
wouldn't be
with
able to
white
wear
crowd.
white on white. No. Although Boise State
I
wears
don't know
blue on
though.
blue, right?
Eastern Washington wears red on
Red
red.
on red. It's got to be
I
allowed.
don't think there's any restriction unless there's some sort of league restriction, like Big Ten
Well, there's a
restriction. But
shortage of white paint. That's probably it.
that's exactly what it is.
Arizona goes into Utah and beats them, although it was Wilson and not Cam Rising.
Yeah,
So that was bound to bite him in the end. This was Wilson's like third game in a row in replace of Cam Rising. Um, Utah is a really good football team. Their defense is really good. Arizona is a good football team. Don't sleep on Arizona. Either I could I don't know. I don't know which one of those teams is better. If Cam Rising is playing, I think Utah is a much better team and they
I
probably
agree.
beat Arizona. But I think Arizona is good enough to be competitive with anybody in the Big 12.
Yeah.
They proved that last year. At the end of the season last year, they were the hottest. I wouldn't have wanted to play them at the end of the season in the Pac-12 last year. They were that good.
And
So
they've continued that into 3-1 to start the season,
yeah,
including this upset. I just think that as long they've hitched their stars to Cam Rising now for 4 years,
yeah,
to see him get injured in 3 of the 4,
right,
and every time they get injured, they become like kind of a shell of the team.
yeah,
Because I think this is coaching. I think they dumb down their offense. I think they simplify and try and go, and I don't think it works well. I think you need a high level quarterback, and you need to trust your quarterbacks that you have. But I don't think they trust Wilson. And then when you lose, you're definitely not getting any more trust. So
yeah. It's true. Uh, yeah, I still think Utah, when they're all healthy,
uh huh.
really is probably the best team in the Big 12. I don't know that's for sure, but I still think they will be at that point. But you got to get Cam Rising back because he's been hurt, like you said, every year.
Every year.
That hurts. Michigan escaped 21 fourth quarter points by Minnesota. That is this again. Michigan looks vulnerable. They don't look dominant at 12, right? They struggle. They beat USC, and they actually looked really good doing it with the running game. They did not. They did look good early, right? 20. It was 24-3 Michigan, and they give up 21 fourth quarter points and win by a field goal.
It's the whole
Woo!
Alabama Georgia thing.
I mean, you can't do that. You can't. That's not a hallmark of a team that's a champion. You can't give up points late, right, and expect to win.
That's true.
Um, yeah, but Michigan is. I mean, they are what they are. They're 4-1, and Oregon's got to go to Michigan, so there's that. Obviously, Michigan has to play Ohio State. There's some big games still left on the schedule in the Big Ten. Wisconsin at USC, and USC with 28 unanswered in the third and fourth, in
Yeah,
the
that
second
was
half, and
huge.
and they just kind of
They were
ran away.
getting
Yeah,
worked.
they were, and I was like, this is
That happened a lot this weekend, didn't it?
yeah,
Where a team was working
yep,
another team, and the other team
yep,
was like, "Actually, we're still going to be in this."
yeah. We're gonna come back.
Yeah,
LSU had a week off. They played South Alabama. And then Notre Dame Louisville, which was a big game, and I thought Notre Dame obviously again 20. They were up 21-7 at the end of the first quarter, right? Notre Dame looks
right.
like the thing. Tyler Shook still looked pretty good. 24 of 41, 264, and 3 touchdowns for Louisville. Let them back, but
Right.
they still lost 31-24. I don't think Notre Dame is great. I don't think Louisville's great.
Tough draw. I think that. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think both of them are good teams, but I don't think either one of them. Maybe
right.
one of them makes the college football playoff, but not both.
Clemson embarrassed Stanford 40-14. Um, Cade Klubnik 15 of 31, 255 and 4 touchdowns. But Stanford, man, they're not the team they used to be, right?
They haven't been for years.
For a while. Iowa State with a shutout at Houston. Houston is now 1-4. This was at the beginning of the season. This looked like a big deal. This looked like a big game.
Yeah, well, Houston was
Yeah,
ranked to start the season and
yeah.
everything. Yeah,
But this ended up being a shutout for Iowa State, and a shutout on the road is amazing, right? No matter
yeah,
who you are and who you're playing, you got to give them credit for that. Iowa State is a good football team. Oklahoma State was in this game with Kansas State. It was 21-13 at the half, all right, where they one score, and then Kansas State ran away. This is like we were saying, where one team just ran away with it.
yeah.
And that happened in this game. Um, Kansas State, both these teams are good. They're not bad. Kansas State is clearly better, I think, in terms of a chance to win the Big 12. And then you had the Oklahoma Auburn game, at which also I thought Auburn played better than Oklahoma. They did for 3 quarters. They were ahead 14-10, and then Oklahoma said, "Oh well, we got But it was mistakes by Auburn that led to this, led to the win for Oklahoma. But I'm not convinced Oklahoma's great.
Agreed.
Any stretch, and they got to play Texas next week, so there's that. Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how you feel about it, but
Oklahoma's Oklahoma's an okay team. We'll find out more about them down the stretch. Auburn's a mid tier
right.
SEC team, so they have to play some better ones. They have to play Texas. They have to play. Wait, I think does Oklahoma play Alabama this year? I think there's
I don't
the
think that they do. Let's
one
go
of
look.
these teams, either Texas or Oklahoma, has a crazy
I'm about to tell
schedule.
you. Oklahoma does play Alabama. Oklahoma plays Ole Miss, Texas, Missouri, Alabama,
Yeah,
LSU. Yeah, it's Oklahoma.
it's
They've got
it's
a.
brutal.
They do have Maine in there.
Hey, well, you know what? That is the absolute gem that is SEC non-conference scheduling. Like, well, we
Maine.
might as well throw in
Yeah, a
Temple and
week off.
Maine and
Yeah. They're gonna be tested. That's for sure. Um,
yeah,
yeah.
we're gonna find out about them.
BY. So here's other. Oh, I had a. We'll ask him at the end. Never mind. I'll ask my questions, my college football questions at the end. I meant to ask
Okay.
him when they came up, but that's okay. We're gonna ask this one. BYU with a 34-28 win over Baylor. BYU was ahead again, 31-14 at the half, and then they gave up a touchdown each quarter, and it was closer than it should have been probably for BYU. But BYU still looks pretty darn good at 5-0. They're sitting there.
BYU looks nice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a good
they
looking
they might actually be the best team in the Big 12.
under, and that was my question. Here's my question: True or false? BYU will win the Big 12.
I'm gonna say false,
Okay.
but if they do, it wouldn't surprise me. I think it's Kansas State's to lose.
Okay.
But if BYU were to win it, I would not be like, well, it came out of nowhere. It'd be like, yeah, that makes sense.
Right. Um. So Texas A&M, who I always believe is overrated, struggled with Arkansas and beat them 21-17, but they're still in the poll because they're 4-1. And it happens all the time. I get it.
But they'll get there. They got to play Texas. They got to play Alabama. Like
Sure.
they have their day coming.
They do. And Texas A&M, we can pull it up. Texas A&M schedule includes Missouri.
Oh, they don't play Bama this
They
year.
play Missouri next week.
Oh,
at
that's
home.
right. The SEC got rid of conferences.
So here's the problem. They play Missouri at home, LSU at home, and Texas at home. Those are the only three ranked teams on their schedule. They do play at Auburn, at South Carolina. Those are actually not easy games. But still.
Yeah, but they'll probably lose all three of those ranked games.
Yeah,
but
that's my guess.
I forgot that the SEC got rid of conferences, and
Yeah,
that's why
it's
A&M
garbage.
does not have to play Bama this year.
Right. Well, and it's funny because when we were talking about the Ole Miss game, Kentucky and Ole Miss,
Mm-hmm.
the story was Kentucky wins at Ole Miss for the first time since 1978, and I was like, how many times have they played there? Six. Six times in
50 years.
In 50 years. Yeah, and I'm like, okay, so it's not that big a deal. You make it sound like, oh, it's been 50 years since they won there. Yeah, but they only played 6 times.
But you gotta find anything to talk about.
But to me, it's like it's one of those stats, right? He hits 300 against left-handed pitchers in night games on Tuesday in Pittsburgh, right? Okay, he had four at bats, whatever. So
what do they call it? The Kelsey brothers have a thing they call it the useless stat or something like that.
And it is right?
Useless stat, which is like they'll give a piece of information. They'll be like, that has no bearing on anything.
Yeah. Don't sleep on Boise State, by the way.
I'm not, but my team already beat them. So
45-24 win in 21 fourth quarter points. That was a shootout in the fourth quarter, right? I mean, but still they were ahead by so much.
Or a track meet?
If track meet, let's call it a track meet. Yeah. And then I don't know about you, but 26 carries for 259 yards and 4 touchdowns. This guy might be the Heisman Trophy winner.
See, I think everyone wants to give it to Travis Hunter right now, and
he's good.
I mean, dude's playing 160 snaps a game.
Yeah.
Like it's incredible, but he isn't nearly as good of a receiver. He's not as good at any one thing as this guy is at running the ball. He's got 13 touchdowns on the season.
He's averaging 10.3 yards a carry.
Yeah, and he's done it against Oregon and Washington State.
Right. It's not.
He did some against
Portland State and Georgia Southern, but still, 127 yards is the least amount he's run for in a game against Portland State
twice, and he's broke 4 touchdowns twice.
Right. This is 6 touchdowns. How do you rush for 6 touchdowns? Anyway,
You don't
I
stop running.
I if I had to give out a Heisman Trophy vote right now, he would be my guy.
He would be mine too.
Yeah,
Travis Hunter would be
second.
second.
Yeah,
Jalen Milrow might be third.
yeah. Okay, I'm along with that.
But
Here's
the good news is we get to wait and see with Jalen Milrow. There's a lot of season left.
here's your AP poll and your coaches poll for this week. By the way, Alabama went from 4 to 1. Here's my question: Alabama deserves to be number one.
Sure.
Is that true?
Uh,
Do
I
you
think
think
I
it's
think
true?
I think Georgia would beat Texas. I think Alabama could beat Texas, which
Yeah.
we're going to find out, by the way. So
Yeah,
that's
that's
good to
true,
know.
right? Yeah.
Um,
Ohio State?
I don't.
Would they beat Ohio State? Would
Yeah,
they beat Tennessee?
I think they would beat Ohio State. I think they'd beat Tennessee. I think they'd beat Oregon. Georgia's the only team on there that I don't like with the way they're playing. Georgia's the only team
Ten-
on there that I don't think they would beat.
Tennessee gets Alabama and Georgia, by the way.
Yeah, yeah,
Alabama at home, but
yeah.
but Georgia, and they got a chance. If Tennessee's going to do it, and Tennessee is a good football team, if they're going to do it, they have a chance to do it this year.
They look really good, and Alabama's defense looks very Washington-esque, very susceptible. So
I like that.
the only thing I don't like is that you put 1, 2, 4, and 5 are all SEC teams, and they
Yeah.
all have to play each other.
Yeah, they always do this though. They always
I
overload it with SEC,
I
and then
well,
9, and then
I don't think
12,
I've ever seen them overload it this much.
9,
Like
12, and 13.
they're giving Tennessee a lot of credit for beating Oklahoma and really nobody else.
And let's just
They're giving Alabama a lot of credit for beating Georgia
right.
and going to didn't Alabama start with somebody a little tougher this year? First game of the season or
Let's go
something like
look
that.
because we got this. We can do this. Well, no, not really. Wisconsin. That's what you're talking
They
about.
went
They
to Wisconsin, yeah. So they haven't really put too much on anybody this year. They give people a lot of credit for it, but the thing is, to me, is that when you have undefeated teams, I don't see how you can keep one-loss teams ahead of them. I don't like that.
No.
So I think Georgia should be because I do think they are a great team, and guess what? It'll all work itself out in the end, so we don't have to panic where they're sitting. But Georgia should be the first team behind the undefeateds.
Agreed. But then which undefeateds do you include? Because let me go back. You can't include all the undefeateds because BYU, right? 15 or 17. Indiana at 23.
Well, when you have a stack of undefeateds right behind you,
yeah, I think
you should at least
10,
go behind them
right?
to the next 4-1 team.
If we're talking about like at 10 behind Missouri.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. I'm okay with that. I agree with that. I think that's legitimate. But you always give them credit for being close to Alabama, even though you give Alabama a shit ton of credit for beating number 1 Georgia. But maybe they weren't number 1. And if Georgia finishes,
I think I said to somebody else, it's close games tell us nothing.
And
they tell us nothing.
If Georgia finishes 3-9, that Alabama win is nothing. But it propelled them to number 1, and that's where they'll stay if they keep winning. But that's the problem.
Yeah, but hopefully Tennessee and Texas both beat Alabama. Tennessee beats Georgia. I don't know who else plays Tennessee again. Oh, you showed it a second ago. They have a couple other big games.
Tennessee's got a lot of big games.
They have a lot of big games.
Well, just Alabama and Georgia. They play Kentucky, which is going to be tough, and Vanderbilt who's improved, by the way. So
yeah, well, it's not that improved.
No, not improved. This might be the easiest schedule in the SEC.
Tennessee might have the easiest one left. Yeah,
they might. So I don't know, Missouri.
But they'll all beat each other, and only one of them is an automatic.
Right.
So there's going to be a handful of automatics, 4 automatics, and 8 at larges.
Yeah.
4 automatic, or sorry, the Power 5. Sorry, the Power 4 conferences all get an automatic, and then the best of the group of, I guess it's 6 now, get one automatic, and then there's 7.
And by
or what's it called? They're the next 7 highest ranked teams.
Right. And by the way, Texas A&M leads the conference. Just that point. At 2-0 because they played 2 conference games and they won them both.
They play one more.
I don't know. I don't know how that'll shake out, but I don't know. So here's my other question. Let me get back to it because I've clicked on like 16 things and I need to get back to where I was. And it wasn't Tennessee. Here's my rankings, right? Which team is the most overrated team in the AP poll?
Probably it's either Penn State, Michigan, or Notre Dame.
And I might throw Miami. I might throw Miami in there, but that's just me. I know,
overrated. They're gonna mop through their weak conference and
but that
be undefeated.
still doesn't mean
I
they're
don't
not.
know.
They're still going to be overrated just because they started high and
But
they're
it's
going to
hard.
finish high.
But you can't tell if they're good because they're playing bad
Right.
teams
They
constantly.
only have one ranked team on their schedule.
Yeah. So if they go undefeated, are they overrated? Maybe. Are they underrated? Maybe. We don't know because they
It's
only played
true.
bad teams.
It's true. I mean, they do have
But Michigan has played some good teams and they don't look good.
right.
And Penn State has looked just washed all year. They look so weird. And then Notre Dame, I think we all agree is just year in year out pretenders.
Agreed.
So so I
Yeah.
think those are the three that stand out to me
Who's
as most fake.
who's the underrated team in this poll?
BYU.
BYU. I agree. I agree with that.
BYU. Yeah, they're
Maybe Boise
playing
State.
great football.
Maybe
Maybe Boise
we'll
State
have to
and
see them play. I don't. They're not going to get a chance to prove anything. That's the problem. Because their schedule
play
is
each other
weak.
this
They do play Oregon State at the end of the year. That's like
Oh,
and UNLV who's ranked, so they got a chance.
yeah,
They're going to win over a ranked team.
they'll drop off with all their quarterbacks and running backs leaving and everything. It'll
Yeah,
happen.
I agree.
This was a hype win to keep their momentum train alive to prove to we don't need so and so, but it'll cave in.
Agreed. So the Big Ten has what 5 teams that are still unbeaten? Ohio State, Oregon, Penn State, and then Indiana and Rutgers.
Yeah, Rutgers one is weird. Rutgers is not ranked, are they?
Rutgers is not ranked. I don't even know if they have votes though. There's 7 votes down here, and there's
yeah, they're gonna have to work hard for it.
yeah, it's gonna be rough. Rutgers is not
See,
gonna be
this is one of those things where let's say you were Texas A&M and you weren't ranked to start the season, and you went 4-0, you'd be in the mid-teens by now. But if you're Rutgers and you start the season unranked and you go 4-0, no one really cares until you beat Ohio State
somebody
or
big,
Penn State. Yeah, like you don't get the credit just for mopping through garbage teams.
right.
So
Well, next week will be the first week where we probably see 2 lost teams in the poll. I think that's the thing.
There's some things coming up.
Yeah. So let's look at what happens next week. So this is the top 25 schedule for next week. Obviously, Michigan State, Oregon, that's a Friday night game. UNLV plays Syracuse. That's a Friday night game. Those are going to be good football games.
I like Friday night games.
I do too.
They're a little later, which kind of sucks, but I mean, you get your whole Saturday to watch whatever you want without like the anticipation of preparing for your game whenever it is.
UCLA is going to get blown out by Penn State on the road.
Probably.
Missouri,
UCLA did not look good.
Missouri plays at Texas A&M. There's a ranked matchup, which is going to be it's going to be tough for Missouri. Texas A&M is good.
Gosh, if Texas A&M wins that game, they're going to skyrocket to like number 3 in the polls.
Agreed. They'll freaking throw them way up there. SMU, who's 4-1, plays at Louisville. That's at 9 a.m. ESPN.
Good matchup. Yeah.
You got that Ohio State game. Iowa's tough. Their defense is always tough. That'll be an interesting game to watch. Auburn at Georgia. That might be a struggle for Georgia. We'll see how Georgia bounces back from a loss. A tough loss.
I think the SEC the hallmark in my opinion of the SEC teams is they very rarely take a loss and let it carry over. They tend to come out swinging. So I expect Georgia to thump Auburn, and it's a rival. So
the Ole Miss South Carolina game, that might be good to watch too. South Carolina's not as bad as you think they are. They're 3-1.
That would be a fun game to watch.
I agree.
Both those offenses are interesting.
Undefeated Indiana plays at Northwestern. That should be a win for Indiana. Alabama plays at Vanderbilt. I don't think Vanderbilt can do anything to stop Alabama, but yeah, you never know.
No, they basically just gave
this could be a letdown game, though. It could be a letdown game, and that might make it closer than it should be. Yeah, exactly. Clemson plays.
If you're Vanderbilt's coach at this point, with the way that team is playing, you need to try and throw the kitchen sink at them.
Oh, absolutely.
And every trick play that's in your book, everything, like let's use it.
Agreed. Clemson plays at Florida State. Florida State could lose their 5th in 6 tries and be 1-4 in the
TJU
ACC.
is not starting at quarterback this week.
So maybe they got a chance.
So I honestly think they do.
Utah State at Boise State. That should be a crush for Boise State. Should be easy. Tennessee at Arkansas. It's going to be a struggle. It's on the road. Arkansas is better than you think they are, but I think Tennessee's going to win this. This is a 2 touchdown game if you ask me. Oh, look at that. It's 13.5. I would have said probably yeah, that's close. 13.5 is probably close. Washington is a favorite playing Michigan at home at Husky Stadium. How? Someone needs to explain that to me.
I couldn't tell you why, other than the fact that Michigan is not impressive right now.
But Washington neither
And
is. They lost to Rutgers and Washington State. Oh, come on, right?
I hear you. I hear you. Well, what's is it a is it it's a 2.5? Is that right?
2.5. I know that's a nothing,
Oh,
but
come on. It's yeah. It's
but
that that's
still,
that's
but
no one wanted to
but
be
even
committal
saying
about who they think.
even saying this game's a push is a win for Washington. I mean,
I
come
think
on.
all they did was all ESPN did was just give Washington bulletin board
I,
material for that game.
I don't know. I don't like that line. I think I would take Michigan in the 2.5 points for sure.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
41.5 though seems high.
You think? I don't know. That's Michigan's been averaging about 20 something. So, well, maybe. It
Yeah,
might be
yeah,
interesting.
maybe, yeah.
It might be interesting. I don't think Washington's defense is good enough to stop Michigan. The running game for
Yeah.
Michigan. That's where I think the problem will come across. But USC plays at Minnesota. USC is an interesting team. That is a Jekyll and Hyde team. I'm not sure what you're going to get. They didn't look great. They couldn't stop Michigan's running game, but they looked good last week in the second half against Wisconsin. They're playing Minnesota, who I don't think is great, but anytime you're playing a road game, you never know. That's on the Big Ten Network if you've got it. I don't. So there's that.
If you got it. You don't have a Big Ten Network?
No, it's not on. It's not on Xfinity. Big Ten
Oh.
Network. You got to pay for it.
Oh.
Well, I mean, I could get it, but I'm not willing to pay for it.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Iowa State is at home against Baylor. Baylor's lost a couple of tough games back to back against Colorado, and then who did they lose to last week? BYU.
BYU.
Yeah, but Iowa State, I think, is your number one bet if you're going someone to get into the college football playoff from the Big 12. I think Iowa State might be the best team. BYU is good. Kansas State's still good. I think Iowa State has something that they don't. I don't know what it is, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. But
a lot of them got to play each other, so we can still.
There's a
find
lot
out
of
about that
football,
one.
and then Miami plays on the road at Cal. Cal is 3-1. Their only loss is to who? Florida State. What?
Yeah, that was weird.
that was weird. Which was a close game. It was like 12-9, wasn't it? Like 12-9 or something, wasn't it? 14-9. They lost to Florida State 14-9. But I don't. Cal doesn't impress me as like a team that's going to beat Miami. So I think that's going to be a thing. But anyway, it should be an interesting week. We got all that going on. Whew, we talked a long time about college football.
There's a lot to talk about when you go through each and every game.
It is true, and we're not going to do that with
adds
the NFL
because there's 14 or there could be 25 games you go through everyone in the top 5. So
right, we're not going to talk about all these games. Cowboys win at the Giants, 20-15. That was kind of one of those games that didn't look. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think the Cowboys are better than Giants. They just happen to win, right?
Yeah.
The Cowboys don't look great. Let's be honest.
Do not.
At 2-2, they don't look great. The Chiefs don't look great, but they win. They just freaking win.
They always win close games.
They've won 4? I think all 4 of them have been close, right? Am I wrong? This 7 points, 1 point, 5 points, 7 points. Yeah. They're all one-score games. 4 one-score games in a row. And
this is who they were last year though, and then they figured it out.
And you can call it luck if you want, but they just managed to win. And that could just be good coaching.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is exactly. I'm going to just go on a limb and say Young Hui Koo is the most clutch kicker in the NFL right now. 58-yard field goal with 2 seconds left. Falcons beat the Saints 26-24. He manages to nail things. He's money late in a game. And
he's really good.
Yeah, he's really good. And they're both teams are 2-2 now. And the Falcons, I wouldn't expect that from the Falcons, them to be 2-2. And the way the Saints started the season, you thought they'd be 4-0 by now.
Yeah, they were rolling.
Yeah. So they got.
But that just goes to show you they had one big game on the back of Alvin Kamara.
He did.
And it kind of convinced you that this was sustainable.
Yeah.
And then you found out that it wasn't. But yeah, the Falcons, Kirk Cousins looks good. Making good decisions.
He does. And
they should have beat the Chiefs.
Agreed. Here's a phrasing example, right? The Bears beat the Rams 24-18. The Rams are now 1-3. The Bears are 2-2. This was a close game. Here's the phrasing. Caleb Williams leads 4 scoring drives as Bears beat Rams 24-18. Okay. He didn't do much. I mean, let's be honest. Let's look at the box score real quick. Caleb Williams was 17 of 23. Pretty good.
Yeah.
157 yards, meh, with a touchdown. 6.8 yards per attempt, meh. He was sacked 3 times. That's not on him. That is what it is. He wasn't brilliant in this football game, but yes, he led them down. That he was efficient enough to lead them down the team to down the field for 4 scoring
They
drives,
kicked a field
and they
goal,
win.
yeah.
And I get that. It's just one of those things where when they say this, are they saying it to prove that, oh well, we said Caleb Williams was going to be good, or are they saying it to? I mean, it's one of those. I don't know. If I was on the field when we scored 4 touchdowns, but I didn't do a damn thing, did I help us get 4 touchdowns? No. So there's that,
I
or four
don't know
scores.
that ESPN was super in Caleb Williams' corner, not like the NFL team was, like the NFL
That's
Network
true.
team
Yeah,
guys were.
that's true.
Like they were all in on Caleb Williams. Like I remember listening to Colin Coward, and he was like, "It could be good, maybe, maybe not. We'll find out." Like that sort of thing. I don't
His
know. I just don't. I don't think that anyone is super buying in yet.
his season stats: 61% completion, 787 yards, 3 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. His
Just
5.6 yards per attempt is
just looks like a rookie
it's
quarterback.
pedestrian. I mean, it's not great. Yeah,
Well, they're going to fire that coach here soon. Eberflus will not be the coach
that's true.
for too much longer because his offenses look generally uninspired.
They
And
ran,
there's a lot of good coaches in college
yeah.
who are needing shots.
Well, they ran for 131 yards, and you control the ball, you're going to win a lot of football games. There's that, but
Yeah, this is the week I benched DeAndre Swift in the NFL. I
fantasy
finally
football,
had
right?
had enough. 2 weeks in a row, like
Oh my
four
God.
points and 5 points. Like I'm done with you.
Here's my first NFL question, I think, for you. Are you ready? Let me find it. I didn't ask trivia question, did I?
Mm.
Oh man.
Save
All
till
right,
the end.
we'll save it till the end.
Yeah.
So here's my first college or her first NFL question. The Vikings 31-29 over the Packers. That was with 22 fourth quarter points by the Packers.
Jesus, they tried all
They
that, man.
tried. Jordan Love, who I benched, didn't play, by the way, and I should have. Um, because I didn't know if he was going to be good. He's come back from injury. I didn't know. Sam Darnold, here's my question. Sam Darnold is legit in Minnesota at 4-0.
Ugh.
He's going
It's
to lead them somewhere.
it's still Sam Darnold, and that's
I
what
agree. I
hurts.
hear that.
Is your brain can't erase mediocre play in Carolina, mediocre play
His
in New York. Like it can't erase that feeling that it's just not like he's having success and that's great and the team looks pretty good, but
his
something about it just is not there.
well, hold on. His career rating, quarterback rating, 80.6. This season so far, 118.9.
He's having a good year.
He's having a good year. I just
He's having yeah, he's going off and but also they're running the ball well. Aaron Jones had 93 yards
it's
rushing in that game. He has Jefferson and Addison, so it's not like he doesn't have receivers. He got a lot of weapons.
but they beat Houston and San Francisco, who are both playoff teams.
Yeah,
I
but
think.
let's hold on. Let's be real about the San Francisco thing.
Yeah.
San Francisco lost last year, I think, to Minnesota also, but it was the same situation.
With
It was
injuries. Yeah.
injuries.
Sure.
Like they beat San Francisco without Kittle, Debo, or McCaffrey.
Agreed.
Like
And I agree with you, but
yeah, and yes, they ran them over, but
it's the NFL. You can't control that, right?
it's true, but it's worth noting when you think
It
about
is.
like the way you win. Like in this one, they won this game, but they had to tuck it away late because they gave it up.
That seems to be a thing going on though. On that on this
All
whole
over.
week for everybody.
Yeah,
But
no one wants to hold a lead.
right. But a win's a win, and it's on the road in division. I mean that's huge.
I'm gonna say no. Sam Darnold is not legit.
Okay.
I don't think. I think that he's got a lot of great supporting characters there, and
Right.
I think a coach who's a little more experimental with the offense. Maybe that's what they needed to unlock him, but I can't shake the feeling that it's still Sam Darnold.
Okay. Steelers lose their first game on the road at the Colts, even though
God.
Anthony Richardson gets injured
Again.
twice, like in the game. He was like hurt
Yeah.
twice. And then yeah, I don't know. Justin Fields though still looks pretty good in Pittsburgh. I'm not gonna lie.
He looks comfortable with what he's being asked to do.
Agreed.
Yeah.
But the Colts, but Colts go to 2-2. Steelers lose their first game of the season, and I don't think the Steelers are legitimate. I think that they're going to finish middle of the road eventually, but I don't know that for sure.
Well,
Because
there's still a lot. Like, I mean, the Steelers early in the season have what they beat the Falcons in week 1.
yep,
They beat the Broncos in week 2.
yep,
They beat the Chargers in
Chargers
week 3.
with an injury.
Two of those 3 teams aren't exactly offensive fire,
That's
superpowers.
true.
So it's
They're
it's
gonna,
a little of like, all right,
but
but it's coming for them. They got
well,
Dallas, they
Dallas is
got
not that good.
Baltimore. Well,
Well, okay.
I know, but Dallas can score points.
Here's my thing. Dallas, meh. The Raiders, meh. Even more meh
Yeah.
than the Cowboys. The Jets' defense is pretty good. Their offense, we'll see.
Dude, their schedule is so front loaded.
Right. And the Giants, the Commanders might be the surprise team of the NFC East if we're going to
Sure.
talk about it. So this back half of the season, they have the Ravens,
That's where it
right?
gets-
The Browns twice, the Bengals. The Eagles aren't even the same team, but they play the Ravens twice, and the Chiefs. So there's that.
Yeah, but the Eagles are liable to beat you on any day.
It's true,
Like,
but I don't think.
Legitimately liable. Unlike like people say that like any given Sunday. I don't
Right.
think the New York Giants are liable to beat you on any given Sunday, but the Eagles are.
Let's talk about that Broncos Jets game, because here's where the trivia
Oh,
question
man,
comes.
what an absolute
What
absolute
a
gem.
what a disaster of a football game.
You're going with disaster. Darn.
I'm going to go with disaster. The Broncos win 10-9 on the road. It's the second win for Bo Nix, by the way. He this game was just. I know the weather was a factor, and I get that.
Major factor.
I get that, but it was Bo Nix threw for 60 yards and a touchdown, right? 2.4 yards per attempt. He was not sacked, and he threw no interceptions. His quarterback rating was higher than Aaron Rodgers in this game. He threw for, but Aaron Rodgers didn't throw for a touchdown even. So there's that. Denver controlled the ball. They ran for 126 yards. That was important. Cortland Sutton with the touchdown from Bo Nix.
That QBR is telling because it factors in a lot of things. And
it does.
It tells you like, yeah, he wasn't great, but there was something really big outside of his control.
But the defense for Denver still looks really, really good.
It was so good.
Yeah, and I
we won a Super Bowl with a defense like this, so I'm feeling good about that.
Here's the problem: 5 sacks by the Broncos, 7 sacks by the Jets. Right?
Yeah.
So, sorry, not 0 sacks.
No sacks. Bo Nix did not get sacked.
Yeah, you can get sacked. But 7 tackles for loss.
Yeah,
so
well,
there was a lot of that
going on. 7 completions for minus 7 yards in the first half.
At the half. So here's my question. Here's my trivia question. You ready? Bo Nix throws for 60 yards, right? And it's like the second lowest ever, right?
Oh.
Yards. It is. It's like the second lowest yards in a win for an NFL player.
Oh.
That's what I thought. But what I found out was this is what they told me on TV, that it was the second lowest ever. And I was like, okay, that's not necessarily true. So it is in recent memory. I don't know what they're using, but I looked it up. So I looked up this in terms of what's the fewest yards passing in an NFL win. And that's the trivia question. What is the fewest yards passing a team has ever passed for in a win in NFL history? So we're not talking about just recent, but all NFL history. What's the fewest yards they've ever passed?
I'm gonna go with it's got to be something before they started throwing the ball.
Well,
it's got to be something old.
And you would think that, and I would agree with you, but it's not necessary. It is old, but it's not that old. That's my hint for you. It's not that old. It's not 1930 old, but it is old. If that helps you at all.
1970s is when we guess then.
Okay. But do you have any idea what team it was, maybe?
I do not know.
Just throw out
I did not hear him talk about it. Let's go with Cowboys.
Okay. That's close, actually. It's actually the Redskins. Okay. And that's why it's close.
Hey, same division.
On November 27th, which I assume is Thanksgiving, 1955.
55? Come on. That's old.
Well, but it's not 1920 old, not 1910 old. It's
1976 old. You're right. It's 70 years
It is,
ago.
and agreed. They threw for -3 yards. The Washington Redskins did in a win over Pittsburgh.
How many times did they throw the ball?
9. 1 for 9. Quarterback was 1 for 9.
This is before they really started throwing the ball.
But the list, and so let's look here because I have this up here. This is the list. This is the Redskins right here with -3 yards, right? And the next is Bills with 0. 1974. There's a recent. Relatively 50 years still, but the Bills 0 yards. Yeah. The Browns 0 yards. In 1981, the Oilers threw for 3 yards. against Cincinnati and won.
Well, all right. So
So
when I
these are
look
the
when I
these are
look at this Browns at Cleveland game
yeah,
or Browns at Philly game,
Philly.
1950,
Yeah.
my first thought is that's December in Philly.
Yeah, they didn't throw a
Like
pass.
that weather could be terrible.
They didn't throw a pass. They were 0 for 0. So they never threw a pass. They got 0 yards.
Forward pass must still be illegal at that time.
No, not in 1950. They were doing
I
it.
know.
Yeah. So I was looking, trying to find like a recent. So like, there's the Cardinals in '87 against the Saints, 11 yards, and they won.
Yeah.
So there are some recent.
Still all pretty old.
There's 2021. The Patriots,
There it
19 yards
is.
in 2021 against Buffalo.
Patriots Buffalo. Oh, that was the snowy game.
Yeah, it was
with,
a bad game.
Mac Jones and
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, I
Yeah.
remember. See, bad weather is the reason why I would think that you would tend
Right.
to not be able to play well.
Agreed. So that was,
Gosh.
and then I came up with, then I was that begged the question: what's the net yardage? What's the NFL team has the worst net yardage in a win, right? Which net yardage is different than passing yardage, right? So the net,
Right. So
net passing yards. There's your Broncos right there.
Look at
Minus
that.
53 in 1967 at Oakland. They
What a
lost.
year.
They lost 51-0, but 2 of 16, whoever the quarterback was.
well, it makes sense that it would be. Oh my gosh! The Redskins had minus 32 yards. Oh, that's the game. They had minus 32
Yeah.
yards in a win.
Net. That was the net. Yeah, it was the net game.
That was the net.
Yeah, that was the net was minus.
How
32.
did they score? How did they score 23 points?
They ran the football. Let's go look.
But they only threw the ball once.
Hold on, let's find out. Leo Elter with a 20-yard run. Leo Elter with a 33-yard run, a 49-yard punt return, and a 13-yard field goal. That's how they win football game. Yeah, punt returns will do it.
Okay, so the problem is that all right, so you had a couple of runs. I'd love to see like actual in-game statistics. Oh, you have
can.
them.
We
have
can.
them. Yeah.
We can.
Let's see.
So this is the Redskins, and
Dude,
here's
they
your
had
passing.
300. No, stop. They had
332
332 yards rushing.
Leo
but
ran
they
for
were
yeah
but they were net minus 32.
passing. Yeah, because of the sacks.
Oh, passing.
Passing
Right,
yards,
right.
yeah.
I'm sorry, I thought you meant like net yards total.
No,
That's
not
why I
totally.
was
Just
like,
passing yards.
That's why I was so incredulous. Just
Oh,
now. I was
no,
like, I don't
no.
understand how you have minus 32 yards and 23 points.
Yeah, that
That
was
makes
a
way
rough
more sense.
game, and the Steelers apparently weren't much
get
better,
some-
right? The Steelers
Can we get
did
some footage of that.
throw for 243. Ted Marchibroda, who used to coach the Indianapolis Colts, by the way,
Yeah.
was 2 for 2 in this game. But they also only ran for 65 yards in this game. But they had 300 yards of
Still-
offense. So I mean,
Talk about polar opposite offenses. The other
Right.
team ran the ball for 300 plus, and you
It's-
threw the ball for 250 plus.
it's amazing when you see these games. You go, well, how does that happen? Well, sacks, that's a lot of
Yeah.
it. But also you just didn't throw the ball much. And look at the scores. If you look at the scores, there's a win right here. The Rams with minus 18, right? There's the Redskins with that win over
a
Pittsburgh.
lot of
right?
losses. in
There's a
here.
lot of big lopsided loss. There's a tie. But when you're losing a game 48-6, or you're losing 47-0, 40-0, when you're
You
losing
probably
games,
don't have any yards.
yeah, there's not many yards to be had. Anyway, I thought that
Yeah.
was kind of interesting.
That is super quirky right there.
It is. So Broncos. Anyway, they managed to win, and you know what? They're 2-2.
Speaking of clutch kickers, right?
Yeah.
both our teams missing field goals.
Right. Real quickly, Buccaneers over the Eagles, 33-16. What's wrong with the Eagles? Is it something or is it nothing?
They've
Because-
got injuries. AJ Brown hasn't been back in 3 games, and Devontae Smith is now out for his 2nd game. They've got injury issues that are hurting them pretty bad.
Saquon Barkley still 8.4
Also,
yards. 8.4 yards a carry in this. Why wouldn't you run him more? 10
well,
carries.
so he only got 3 carries in the first half,
Why?
and
They start throwing the football because they're
I think-
losing?
I think you overthink your strengths because you like, oh, well, everyone knows we're going to run it, so why are we
Yeah.
going to run it?
That could be.
I think that happens to people sometimes, and I think every once in a while you get caught up. I think the Eagles are better than their record, but I don't think they're that great of a team overall. So
Bengals get their first win at the Panthers, 34-24. I don't think either of those teams are great. I don't think the Bengals are great. I don't think that's a playoff team. I just don't. I mean, a win over the Panthers doesn't tell me that you were great.
right,
So I still don't feel you're gonna have to show me something. The Bengals, they have plenty of time to do that. The
need,
Texans,
need more. Yep.
the Texans, 24-20. C.J. Stroud is a legitimate quarterback.
Man, I was super critical of him coming into the league, but
Yeah.
he has managed to get some serious pieces. Like I didn't think Nico
It,
Collins is all that great. Nico
yeah.
Collins is fantastic. Stephon Diggs is fantastic.
I was
Obviously,
just gonna
yeah,
say, I don't think with Nico Collins, I don't think any quarterback's bad.
yeah. It just like these things like
Yeah,
he ended up with these pieces that you didn't think too much about, and then even bigger than that, he ended up with a coach that wasn't afraid to, as a rookie, let him sling it.
still took a touchdown in the fourth quarter to win this, though, with
It's
18
true.
seconds left, right, to win the game.
Jacksonville really doesn't want to win football this year.
Jacksonville is struggling. That's a team that probably won't make the playoffs. That's just my guess. Um, I'm going to throw that out there. The
That's
Commanders,
fair.
42-14 over the Cardinals, and I'm going to say this. Let me ask you this: best rookie quarterback so far, Jaden Daniels.
Ooh.
And
Yeah, yeah, I feel pretty comfortable about that. Bo Nix has been a little underwhelming,
yeah,
although he's been kind of stymied by some play calling things.
yeah,
Again, this is the CJ Stroud thing from last year, where he
yeah.
goes in there and the coach is like, "Yeah, man, do your thing. I'm gonna support the way you want to play, not make you play the way I want to play." Which happens a lot with rookie quarterbacks, but he does look good. But being fair, two of their wins are over the Giants and the Cardinals.
It's true. In
They did beat
Cincinnati,
Cincinnati.
lost to Tampa.
They should have lost to Cincinnati based on the
Right.
2 minute report at the end of that game. But so they should be 2-2 with only wins over sub 500 teams.
Jaden Daniels is completing 82% of his passes.
Again, we're going to learn so much more because they still have
We are.
Baltimore.
Oh, yeah.
Still have Baltimore. Wait, who am I looking at? They got Baltimore. They got actually they don't really have that tough of a schedule.
The Redskins? Sorry, they're not
They
the Redskins. I can't call them
yeah,
that, can I?
they
Commanders.
really don't.
So Browns, Ravens, Steelers, Eagles, Cowboys,
They
Titans, Saints,
really not that
Eagles,
tough.
Cowboys again.
Unless the Eagles figure it out and get healthy,
They
and unless the Cowboys figure it out,
well,
like
they've got the
uh,
most points for in the division, and in through 4 games, and they're leading the division. So
but again, they got a lot of those points on.
it's true.
They got 21
Well,
against one bad team and
they
42 against another bad team.
they have 80 in the last 2 games on the road.
Yeah, I give them credit for the on the
So
road, but again,
yeah,
they should have lost the Cincinnati game. The NFL's already said that,
agreed.
so we would be talking about them
It
kind of
doesn't.
differently.
They
But
didn't.
that doesn't change
Yeah.
how it impacts Jaden Daniels because he
And
did
the stats,
play.
right.
He's playing really well. So
Ni- Niners get their second win. Fred Warner's, like it says here, Fred Warner with the pick six.
they got some healthy people, and what happened?
They did,
started winning
right?
football games.
Yeah, and so the Niners are good when they're healthy. They're obviously we've figured that out. They're meh
I feel
when
like
they're
you could say
not.
that about any team, right?
Well, that's true. Well, maybe not any team. There's some teams
There's not a lot of teams that
that
have a ton of depth
right,
out there.
right,
Like I feel like at any given point you take like the best offensive weapon so the Niners' best offensive weapon is Debo. Let's
right.
say you take the DKs out for the Seahawks, they
Yeah,
become dramatically worse.
yeah, that's true.
It happens for every team.
The Raiders beat the Browns 2016. The Browns are struggling. Deshaun Watson is not the guy. They paid him a lot of money.
They're in all these games, but
Yeah,
something is just
they
off.
can't win.
I actually don't think it's him.
Well, it might not be
I
him,
don't
but
love all their play calling.
I don't like his style of play necessarily. The way he plays is not conducive.
It's conservative. They only
It
ran
is.
for 92 yards. Like that's
It's
not
true.
a great. You're not gonna win a lot of games running sub 100.
No, but you also, I mean, if your
Boy, do they need Nick Chubb.
if your stat line is 4 touchdowns and 3 interceptions for the season so far, and 61%, that's meh. I mean,
Yeah, it's
for the NFL.
Yeah,
So,
it's not great, but he's also, his receiving core is okay.
yep,
Judy and Cooper,
it's all right.
it's all
You're right.
right.
They're
His
missing
running backs
something.
are okay.
Yeah,
Like he's just Njoku's probably his best consistent threat, but
right,
Njoku can't stay freaking healthy to save his life. I'm not
right.
trying to defend a ton of Deshaun Watson, but I can look at a team and go, you got other problems that you need to solve first.
The,
And then it'll leave the quarterback to shine or falter. And in this case, like I need to see those other problems solved first. If they get Nick Chubb back and he looks good, that's kind of a kicker here. We'll know a
yeah.
lot more about whether or not Deshaun Watson is really playing down.
Ravens on Thursday night beat the Bills pretty
Crushed.
easily. What turned this game around? What was the score? It was
It was a little
20,
close for a
21
while
to
there.
10.
Yeah.
It was 21 to 10 third quarter when the Bills ran that trick play.
and Josh Allen got
And Josh Allen got his arm
crushed.
taken off and then got crushed. Yeah, and the fumble that happened, and that was like the big turning point because they had just scored and they gotten the ball back. They were
Yeah.
that momentum was on their side. Why? Why did you need the trick play? I mean, I get there's a time and a place for trick plays, and I get it. I kind of. I just don't think that was it because it was still early third quarter, middle third quarter, whatever it was. You had time, only down 11, just to
Right.
do your thing. Nah, Derrick Henry. Whew, Derrick Henry had another football game. Um, 200 yards. He just missed out on 200 yards. Uh,
Yeah,
the
that's such a bummer. If he would have had one more yard, he'd have the most 200-yard rushing games in NFL history.
he's going to get another one. He runs. He's so big, and he's
Yeah.
so strong, and he runs so upright. And they were talking about it on Monday night how he looks like
Yeah.
Eric Dickerson. He,
Eric
he
Dickerson, yeah.
yeah, he stands straight up, and you're like, wow, how do you run like that, and still manage to like shake tacklers and that kind of stuff. But you're offering a big
two
target.
2 points about him. Number one, if you can get to his legs before he starts moving,
Yeah,
he is worthless.
that's true.
Worthless. I watched so many plays where they got to him early in the backfield. He's not strong enough from a. He's the Juggernaut from the X-Men comics.
Right.
You can't let him
Just don't
gain
let him get
momentum
moving.
because if he
Yeah,
gains momentum, then it's a
then it's a
problem.
problem.
But
Yeah.
if you keep him tied down, it's fine. So that was one of the big things that I saw with him that was really a quirk for him. But he's so fast. But the standing up thing, I was just talking to Cassie about this. Oregon has a running back, Whittington.
Yeah, Noah
When he's
Whittington.
standing in the backfield, like getting ready to take a carry, he is like just standing straight up, like with his hands at his side. It's so weird looking. He's not like hunched or leaned or
Right.
hands on his knees. He's just standing there, and I'm like, is he know the play is about to start?
I
Like it's
mean,
probably a more active posture.
so Monday night there were two games. The Dolphins looked like the fourth quarterback Dolphins losing losing
Yeah, they
losing
did.
31-12 to the Titans.
I tried to give you hope on that one. It's like
Tyler
maybe Tyler
Huntley,
Huntley.
yeah, he was 14 of 22, 96 yards. I mean, it's not the end of the world, but they just couldn't do anything. They just couldn't manage anything. Um, and
Is
then
there a more worthless player to pay than Tyreek Hill if you don't also have a superstar quarterback?
agreed. How
Like you're
right?
paying this guy
Oh,
$40 million a year
and by the
to
way,
not catch anything because you don't have a superstar quarterback.
and by the way, OBJ is now a Dolphin, right?
Yes, he is. That's right.
And why? Because who's going to throw the football to him? What's the point of signing another big name wide receiver or a guy who could help your team if he can't get the
He's an
football?
underneath guy. I
But
see
he's
the
not going.
value. I see
Ah,
the value in him for some of these other quarterbacks. Like if you still have two, obviously you don't need him. But with these other guys who you're trying to look to script plays that are under 5 yards,
right.
OBJ's a great route runner. So
Okay.
you want him for that.
Oh, he's going to take some pressure away from Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. I get that. It's
Yeah.
just weird because you got three great wide receivers out there and nobody throw the football to them. So I'm like, okay, what's the point of adding another one if you can't throw
You're
it?
paying Tyreek Hill so much
So
money
much money.
to to just be a
Run
distraction.
run
and
downfield.
it's not even a good distraction
Tyreek,
because they
and
don't believe you're going to throw it.
and he's on my team by the way. He's on my fantasy football team.
Oh,
Four
that
four
hurts.
catches, 23 yards,
Ugh.
with a long of 17, which means three of them were for 6 yards.
Throwing it to him behind the line a lot.
But they only threw for 96 yards, so I mean they weren't going to get nothing. And then of course Tyler Huntley lost a fumble. There's that.
Yeah, a couple little things here and there.
I don't know. They were not in Tennessee's class at that point.
It's true.
On Monday night. The other Monday night game, the last Monday night game, Seahawks Lions was good for a while. It was good into the fourth quarter.
It was good well into the fourth quarter, and then about halfway through, it got a little.
Yeah, then it got a little. The Lions kind of just
The Seahawks started making mistakes.
making mistakes. Yeah. DK Metcalf with 7 catches, 104 yards. Geno Smith, and I will say this: Geno Smith, when he throws the football, it comes out with a it's smooth, but it comes out so fast.
Yeah, they kept using the term fastball.
Yeah,
on broadcast.
when you watch him throw, I watched him a couple of times where he'd take like a half a step. He doesn't take a full step. He's taking like a half a step and releasing the ball, and it just jumps off of his hand. And I'm like, how does he throw the ball so damn hard? Sometimes too hard, right? But still, 38 of 56. He threw the ball 56 times in this game because,
Well, he had to, right?
because Jared Goff was throwing it and scoring too. So there's that. But
Yeah.
395 yards and a touchdown. And Kenneth Walker back in from injury, 12 carries, 80 yards, 3
Did you
touchdowns.
see that play?
Which one?
The flipping play?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
My body hurts just watching.
Oh, there was a number of plays over the weekend when I watched and I go that hurts. That's gotta hurt, right? That's
I don't know if there's many running backs who are a better combination of speed and power than Kenneth Walker.
He's really
like
good.
he is so even Zach Charbonnet, who didn't get that many carries,
No.
was so shifty.
Yeah.
Like those guys are solid.
And by the way, and I'm just gonna say this, Jared Goff was 18 of 18 for 292 and 2 touchdowns.
That's pretty remarkable in the NFL.
His rating was 155.8. His QBR 95.1. He only barely beat Amon-Ra St. Brown, who threw that 1 touchdown pass to him. In the rating, he didn't even beat him in the QBR. The QBR was better for St. Brown. But you know what? If you go 18 for 18 in an NFL game and throw 292 yards and 2 touchdowns and catch a pass for a touchdown, you put yourself in the front of the MVP nomination. I mean, that's just
kudos to Amon-Ra for that pass.
It was beautiful.
Like, there was a defender.
Yeah.
Like right near him. If you cut that down just a little bit, that probably gets deflected. But he dropped it right in the bucket.
Yeah, he just threw it right where it needed to be, and I was like, wow, that's impressive. It was a good football game to watch. It was actually entertaining for most of the game, but Detroit was clearly the better team at home, and they showed it at the end, I guess. Anyway. So that's the NFL in a nutshell. So here's my question. Here's the standings right here real quick. Here's your AFC standings. Right now, Baltimore is an AFC contender. Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. And they looked really good against Buffalo. That's a huge win in terms of the standings at the end of the season. You know it is because you know Pittsburgh's going to lose some games. Baltimore's probably going to win that division.
Yeah.
With Derrick Henry to support frickin' Lamar Jackson. That's a crazy addition.
And Zay Flowers and Mark Andrews. They have talk about a team that has a wealth of pieces.
Offensive talent.
Yeah.
And then Cleveland and Cincinnati are neither one playing very good. So there's that. Cleveland has only scored 66 points in 4 games.
Ooh. Yeah. Ooh. Cleveland is they're struggling to get it started, that's for sure.
Who's going to win
and yet they're ahead in the standings.
Who's going to win the AFC right now? AFC champion right now. I know who
it's got to be Chiefs. It's got to be Chiefs until they prove that they can't.
Who are they going to play in the AFC Championship game?
Which I'm going to go with Houston.
You think Houston? Houston's good.
I think Houston's going to draw the Ravens in the divisional round.
If you're not looking at it right here, though, Houston is a minus 15 point differential and 3-1.
They had a bad week.
It happens. It happens.
The
AFC South has been outscored all of the teams except Indianapolis, who's at 500. But that's really weird.
Hold on. The problem is like the Broncos are a +7 point differential.
Yes.
And Houston is a minus 15.
But their defense.
You would not think the Broncos were better than the Texans.
Well, they aren't because they've only scored 60. The only team who has scored less points. Well, there's a couple. There's 3. The Dolphins have scored 45. The Patriots 52. The Jaguars 60. And then the Broncos. So there's 3 teams worse offensively. But defensively, 55, right? The Chargers have only given up 50. I wouldn't have said that. I wouldn't have told you the Chargers had the best defense in the league.
Jim Harbaugh, what's it called?
But they are. Because last year, that was the last 2 or 3 years, that was not the case. In the NFC, all right, the Vikings are the only unbeaten team. If you had to put an NFC champion right now, who is it?
Right now, it's Detroit.
Okay. You think Detroit's going to beat Minnesota when they play? They're better than Minnesota.
Detroit can score very, 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 very well.
Okay.
And that goes a long way in this league. If I'm picking a second team, I'm actually picking the Seahawks.
And they could if the Niners aren't healthy.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm picking the Seahawks.
Oh, okay.
It's because I don't believe the Niners. I don't think Christian McCaffrey's coming back this year.
Oh, Jesus. That's rough.
I don't believe the Niners are going to be healthy consistently down the stretch. They haven't been lately. They weren't last year down the stretch. Like I just don't. I mean, they did. Yeah, they had everyone back for the Super Bowl, but I just don't believe it. So But yeah, I got Detroit. So I got my Super Bowl right now is Kansas City, Detroit.
Thursday night, Buccaneers Falcons. I'm looking forward to that. That looks like a
That's a
good
fun
football
looking
game,
game. Yeah.
right? Yeah, right. The Jets Vikings. Will the Jets
Eh,
defense? This is in London, so who knows? But
yeah. Yeah.
right, you don't know who slept well on the plane. That's part of that. Panthers Bears. No, that's a
What a
boo.
sleeper game.
Ravens Bengals. That should be a Ravens win,
That's a
although
good
it's
one.
on the road. I don't know. Dolphins Patriots. That's a snoozer. Um,
Snoozer.
snoozer. Browns Commanders. That should be a snoozer too. Commanders should roll
Snoozer.
over that one. Colts Jaguars. That should be a snoozer at this point,
Snoozer.
but you never know. Bills Texans. 10 a.m.
Yeah.
CBS.
Might be the game of
Woo!
the day.
Buffalo's a 1 point favorite on the road. That's going to be good.
I don't
Raiders
know how they're a
Broncos.
favorite on the road.
Raiders
That's my
Broncos
game
could
of the
be
day.
entertaining to watch. It might not be
I
the best
agree.
game, but it might be entertaining.
Well, especially now that Devontae Adams has
Right.
demanded a trade,
Well,
he's probably not playing. So who's your number one receiver in freaking
they don't even
Brock
have.
Bowers?
Yes, that's true. Cardinals at the Niners for a battle of the loser might just be out of the division at this point.
49ers are going to smack them.
Probably.
Yeah.
Packers Rams.
Rams are playing very weird football. I think
Weird.
the Packers got this. Yeah.
Weird football. Giants Seahawks. That should be a snoozer.
Seahawks.
Cowboys Steelers might be an entertaining football game. I actually
Yeah,
think that'll
it could be
closer.
fun to watch.
And then you have the Saints Chiefs. When I would have said 2 weeks ago, yeah, that's going to be a great football game. But
Well, now I still say it's probably going to be a good football game because the Chiefs are playing down, and
Yeah.
so are the Saints from where
but
they
they're
were.
winning. But the Chiefs doesn't matter. They just win.
Yeah, I know the Chiefs
I
just
won't-
win.
I won't bet against them.
When you asked me earlier who's winning the AFC, it was the Chiefs.
San Francisco.
It's because they have to prove it to me.
San Francisco, by the way, has the largest point spread. They're a 7.5 point favorite at home. Everything else is 6 or less. So
Garbage.
Yeah, right.
I don't ever want them to make spreads that are under a touchdown.
right, or under
Like-
a field goal is even worse.
Yeah, 2.5 is a
2.5.
garbage spread. Yeah,
That's-
Ravens Bengals.
yeah, right. 2.5.
Tell me you don't believe anything.
Right. Yeah, 2.5 Minnesota over the Jets. I mean,
Yeah.
I
What is
don't
the
know.
Broncos game at?
The Broncos is at where's that? I just saw.
Further
It.
down.
Yeah, there it is. Three.
Three.
Three
Oh,
even.
Denver's a favorite.
Yeah, Denver's at.
Look,
fa-
oh my
It's
God,
that
that point,
defense,
that
man.
point total.
35.5. Is that the lowest of
Ye-
the weekend? Yeah.
Oh, I saw another
Patriots.
30.
Patriots. Dolphins. 35.5.
Okay, so 235.5.
Yeah, and that's it.
Does that mean we're? I'm thinking about the Stewie going, Brian, are we trash?
And yes, the answer is yes, right? At
Answer
this
is
point,
yes,
I mean,
Broncos are
the
trash.
Broncos could be 3-2 at the end of Sunday, and still be trash.
There is a chance. I was looking at our schedule. There's a chance that we could win 8 games this year, and it would all be on the shoulders of our defense, like just purely on that front, unless our offense picks something up. So
Real quickly, Major League Baseball playoffs started today. The Mets beat the Brewers in Game 1 of the wild card 8-4. Tigers over the Astros 3-1. Royals 1-0 over the Orioles, and Padres 4-0 over the Braves. By the way, they've only been doing this particular format of 6 playoff teams for 3 years. But so far, whoever wins Game 1, these are 3-game series,
yeah,
like best of 3. Whoever wins Game 1 has won every series. So
yeah, it's winning 2 in a row is hard.
it's hard. And like this is funny because the Royals, the Tigers, and the Mets they're all road teams, and they've got to play the next 2 still on the road. No, they get no home games in the series. They don't get to come home.
Look at you. I rember you were doubting the Mets, and here
Oh,
they
they're-
are. in the
I still doubt
playoffs.
the Mets.
I get it.
I still think they're going to blow this. But anyway, this is a good start. So if you're watching baseball, if you're home tomorrow at 11:30 a.m. Tigers Astros, 1:30 is Royals Orioles, and then the Mets Brewers play at 4:30, and then of course the Braves Padres play again at 5:30 on ESPN too. So you can watch some baseball if you're home all day and you got nothing else to do, and you like something that'll put you to sleep quickly. Watch baseball.
Tune into baseball.
Tune into baseball. WNBA is in the playoffs. They're in the semifinals, by the way. And then whoa, simmer down.
Whoa.
What just happened? Liberty beat the Aces 88-84, and they have a 2-0 lead. You can't say 2-0 in basketball, can you? 2-0 lead in that series over the Aces.
Do the English say nil for anything other than soccer?
Well, they don't have anything other than soccer.
Huh.
I mean,
Never
what
thought
are they
about
going
that.
to talk about? Basketball?
Well,
No.
like in tennis, it's love.
It's love,
right?
but that's just how
Why
the
is
scoring
it
is.
not nil? Why do they
I
have
don't know.
different
They didn't
words
invent
with
tennis. I
zeros
don't
for
think. I
different sports?
I
I
wonder
don't
who
know.
invented tennis. I don't even know that. You know what? There's your research.
It
I want to report on tennis
was
next week.
it was brought over from Malaysia
it's
after
it's
one group would conquer another group. They would cut off
uh-huh.
their heads and you'd smack them back and
That's
forth with
a
rackets.
different that I think that's lacrosse you're thinking
I think
of.
it's lacrosse, yeah.
The Minnesota Lynx are beating the Connecticut Sun 68-58 in game 2. Connecticut leads. They won game 1. But Sabrina Ionescu with 24 points and 9 boards leads the Liberty tonight. And then they held on to win. That's what they did. But anyway, the Liberty had the best record in the WNBA, so there's that. Here's the part I don't agree with. They don't play Wednesday. They don't play Thursday. It's not until Friday. Why do we gotta wait so long to play a basketball game? I don't
Yeah.
understand.
Yeah, you've been on that kick for
I just
a decade
we
now.
could be done with this a long time ago.
It's not about when we can finish it. It's about when people will be able to watch it. So they shift everything around so people can
Agreed.
watch them.
Let me ask you this, and I don't know this. Let me just back up. Boop. Friday night, Oregon plays Michigan State, and UNLV plays Syracuse.
Yeah, I'm not
Also,
watching
also Friday
WNBA.
night, WNBA. Which one are you
Well,
turning into?
actually, where I watch my games up in my little man cave here, I have a TV which I watch football on, and then I have my PlayStation, my computer all hooked up to another monitor. I'll probably put the Aces game on that monitor and watch the TV.
If you're not cheating though, and you don't have two ways to watch
If
TV,
you have one
screen,
you're choosing Oregon. Yeah.
You're gonna not just Oregon. You're gonna choose college football more than likely.
Well,
the average fan, and just of all fans of sports, the average fan is gonna pick college football over the WNBA.
Hold on now. I don't.
You know why? Caitlin Clark's out.
I don't know. Well, that's a true point too. But I don't. Oh my gosh, I'm going to tell you about something that pet peeved me here in just a minute.
All right.
I have a Parker's minute at the end.
All right.
But last weekend on Friday it was Rutgers, Washington, and I can't remember what the other game was. But there was WNBA basketball on, and I watched the WNBA basketball because I don't care about any of those teams. I think it was last Friday. Maybe it was. But yeah, I was like, no, I don't care to watch. Rutgers
they played on. Well,
maybe I did it. Maybe it wasn't Friday.
Wednesday, Tuesday, Sunday.
No, it wasn't Friday. There was a Friday recently with college football on where I chose to watch the WNBA.
Yeah.
I just can't remember what the context was. Maybe, yeah.
Friday, October 4th. That's coming up.
That's coming up.
It's not this week.
Maybe there wasn't. I don't know. Either way.
There's a Friday, September 13th.
If I don't have any vested interest in any of those teams.
Yeah.
Then, this is what it was because the Mercury. Yeah, the Mercury were playing the Sun, and that's the team that they had lost to a couple of times. Okay, and then the Sky were about to get eliminated, or had just gotten eliminated. So I wanted to see how many rebounds. What's it called? I wanted to see how many rebounds Angel Reese would get. But then I remembered after I started watching the game that she was hurt, and it was a whole thing.
Right. Yeah. Wrist injury.
Either way, I would choose to watch some impactful games over meaningless college football games that for teams that you don't particularly care about.
I suppose.
But I do agree that your average fan probably doesn't watch the WNBA.
It's true.
By the way, tennis was invented by an English person.
Was it?
Yep.
Okay. Why love? Why is love the score?
Okay, well that's a different question.
It's not nil. Because that's what we were asking, right? Why did I not say nil? Why is it love?
Because 0 sounds so mean.
It is.
It's been used since the 1800s. The tune originated from the French word for egg, l'œuf, which is pronounced similarly
goose egg.
to the word love. Exactly, because the number 0 resembles a duck's egg.
It does. It does resemble a duck's egg. You're not wrong. Okay, interesting. There you go. There's your history. Is that how they say it?
It's spelled L'Eouff.
Loof.
Yeah.
Loof.
Or Leouf.
No, Leouf would be L-E apostrophe, but Loof.
I know. Yeah.
Okay, there you go. Loof. Yeah, that reminds me of Dexter's Lab. Omelette du fromage. Anyway.
Omelette du fromage.
I agree. And then, of course, Formula One comes back in a couple weeks, October 18th. They're at the Circuit of the Americas, which I've been to, just FYI. Yeah, right. Not that was any big deal, but it is a really cool track to watch a race from. It was really neat. But anyway, so that's coming up, and we'll talk about that in a couple weeks. It's getting exciting in Formula One, and I don't think it's going to be exciting at the end. I think we're watching the changing of the guard right now. But I think it's going to get exciting for the next couple of weeks, and then it's going to become not exciting at the end of the thing because
I agree.
somebody is going to have taken it over.
Our best chance at exciting is that Max is tight into the last couple races for the win
Yeah.
and starts getting aggressive and causing accidents.
Gosh, I hope someone causes an accident.
That is our best chance.
Is it wrong? Is it wrong to root for an accident in a race? Because I know that
NASCAR all the time.
Well, but yeah, they don't have any hope because they're all
you
going
don't want
left.
somebody to get hurt. You just want to see some chaos.
That's true. I don't want to see anybody get hurt. I would just like to see. I want to see cars colliding that are not 15th and 16th on the grid. I want to see them, 2 and 3 or 1 and 2.
Also, I think your red flag strategy is like the most important thing you could have in your pocket at any given point, and some teams really screw that up.
Yeah. Anyway, so there's all that. Anything else you want to talk about before you said you had a minute? Go.
I do have a minute. Yep. So I obviously I work for Nike. I get like chats all the time. I was getting a real frustrating line of chats recently, which are people griping and asking about where is Caitlin Clark's signature shoe. Like it's a string of chats I've gotten, probably
Really?
a good 20, 30 of them over the last 4 or 5 days. Where's her signature shoe? How come this didn't come out this year? These people are not like, hey, is there going to be a shoe? They're like, where is it?
Oh,
like
right.
it's a very different tone to it. And so I tell them all, look, Caitlin Clark signed with Nike in May. Assuming they immediately started working on designing a shoe, average production times are 2 to 3 years.
Right.
Sabrina started working on a shoe right when she signed with Nike. It came out in year 3. I would expect something similar with Caitlin.
Right.
Today I just had this lady that was like, well, you guys are losing so much business until you finally get that shoe out. I would hurry it up.
Are we?
And I literally chatted back and said, hold on, let me run into the back and start making them for you. And I was like, we don't work there.
Yeah.
Like, I'll pass this up to the production team, but they're probably already on it.
Yep.
And they're probably already planning to produce 1 million pairs, something that you probably can't comprehend the time it takes to produce them and ship them and then stock them and set up a marketing campaign for them.
And let me ask you this. Let me ask her this, which is, if they were out now, you'd buy one, right?
Mm-hmm.
When they come out, are you going to buy one? Yes. So it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
It's irrelevant. You're impatient. You're just an impatient asshole at this point.
I told one person the other day, I was like, well, what you really need to be angry about, because you're frustrated that the shoe isn't out, you need to be angry with NIL, because NIL just came on this year.
Yeah.
2 years ago. And if Nike could have signed Caitlin Clark 3 years ago, you might be looking at
You might have a shoe
in her
yeah.
first year.
Right.
I was like, but Nike wouldn't sign Caitlin Clark 3 years ago because no one knew who the hell Caitlin Clark was 3 years ago.
Right. She's like the hot new toy, right? But
Yeah.
it's who knows how long that'll last anyway.
I see a chat from Nebraska, somebody named Cynthia, and I just know that it's going to be about Caitlin Clark's shoes.
Sure.
Yeah, it's so frustrating.
Yeah.
But that's a gripe I have lately. People just getting really on, like they don't understand how production timelines work. It's not instantaneous.
No one does.
Just make more.
Yeah, you should just make some shoes, dude.
Yeah.
Right? Why aren't you in the back cobbling things together, right?
Also, I did impress a guy earlier today, though. He chatted and he was asking me questions, and he was like, hey, he's like, I don't want to be rude, but where are you located? I was like, Denver. He goes, really? He goes, I just assumed you were overseas somewhere. I was like, no, all of us. I was like, all of the U.S. support team jobs are in the U.S. He goes, no way. He goes, I was lied to by somebody. They told me that Nike shipped all their jobs overseas.
Oh.
And I was
yeah.
like, okay. Well, that's a whole different conversation, bud.
I'm telling them that the calls only come from overseas when you travel.
It's true.
When I'm traveling, that's true.
Although I'll tell you this, when I get chats from people accidentally coming from like the Netherlands, they're the nicest people.
Oh yeah.
They're always so understanding and
Right?
they're so considerate. It's very direct, but it's very polite, and it's like, I can get behind this. Let's get this transaction done and be cool with each
Agreed.
other, even if we don't like the information.
Well, that's all we have. I want to thank ESPN. That's where we got all that information from, by the way.
All of it.
All of it. All of that came from the ESPN website. So ESPN, you're doing a great job. And let's be honest, where else are you going to get all that information from? I mean, in one place, right? It's like the Walmart of sports.
Wow, what a statement. The Walmart of sports.
The Walmart Supercenter of sports. Anyway, want to thank ESPN. Want to thank anybody for listening. Our sponsors, Boss Kitty, Yarns, and Stone Wine Estates. This has been a Brain Rock production, a division of Lonely Tree Media. We'll see you next week, and we'll talk about all things football again. Have a great evening.